Hi, thanks for joining me today. On this plaid leopard tutorial, the first thing I did was I took a template that I purchased from Ella Creates. That information will be in the bio. I cut out the template on my Cricut. In my Cricut, before I cut it out, I just contoured it and removed any cuts other than just the outside of it. So I cut that out on cardstock, and then I found an image online of a seamless plaid image, and I printed it out on just regular copy paper. I have a laser printer, so it burns the image into the paper rather than using ink. But you could use an inkjet if you want to. I just wanted to see if I could do this with paper and not water slide or vinyl, and it worked beautifully. So after I printed that out, I used that template to trace around the edges so that I could cut it out. And I noticed as I was wrapping it around my cup that it was just a little bit too long for me. I didn't want it to go all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom because I'm going to cover those areas with glitter anyway. So I trimmed it up. First, I took out my paper trimmer, which was a dumb idea because obviously you can't cut it straight. It's a tapered edge. So I had to fix that with scissors. So don't be like me. Just use scissors. Don't use a paper trimmer to cut that template. So anyhow, here you see me just lining it up, making sure that it looks like I want it to look, and then I go and trim it up some more. It's easier to just not have any overlapping of the top or the bottom because you want to get a really good seal on your cup, and you also don't want to be messing around with the bottom having wrinkles or anything like that in it. I'm using Crystalac glitter glue here. For those of you who are new to my channel, I use Crystalac products. I do not use epoxy. So this glitter glue is amazing. I used to use Mod Podge, but I would have to let it dry overnight. With the Crystalac glitter glue, it dries in 2 hours, so that's awesome. So I'm just going to paint this glue all over my cup. I did prep this cup already prior to the video, so it was sanded and ready to go. I didn't see any reason to paint it because I'm going to cover it with paper, so I didn't paint it. I'm just making sure that glue's on there good. Now I'm just going to wrap that template around it. Now on this, you'll notice that it doesn't line up perfectly because obviously the image wasn't made for the cup. It wasn't made to curve like the template does. But that's okay because I'm going to cover that with glitter anyway, so I don't need it to have a perfect seam. Make sure that when you are putting your paper on there that you're smoothing it out really well, that you don't leave behind any air bubbles. Sorry about any background noise. I do have a family of 5, including myself, and we have 7 dogs. So with the tutorials that you see me put on here, the finished cups will be on my business page. You can find that at Glorious Grace Designs. If you look in those albums, if it was a glitter cup, it'll be under my glitter album, and you'll be able to see the finished product. So the next thing I do is I take my glitter glue and I put it around the top edge as well as the bottom. And as I was doing this, it occurred to me, well, I didn't want to just paint a straight line around the top and the bottom because I'm just going to get a straight line of glitter. I don't want it to be straight. I want it to kind of be a splatter. So I'm using that glitter glue at the top. Just making sure that I'm going to get good glitter coverage at the top and the bottom. But also what you'll see me do here in just a few minutes is I'll take out some E6000 spray. Now, when I used Mod Podge, my process was that I would glitter with Mod Podge, I would immediately spray with E6000, I would glitter again, and then I would let that sit overnight. Then I would spray it again, and after an hour I would smoosh it, and then an hour later I would start my BT. Now E6000 is really a pain in the butt because that nozzle gets just clogged up terribly. So I try to clean that nozzle off really good each time before I use it. What I'm going to start doing is just putting that nozzle in a bowl of hot water and letting it sit there for a while and make sure that it's good and clean before I put it back on, because it's getting harder and harder to get it unclogged lately. So I'm just going to do some random spritzing down the side of my seam where I'm going to cover it with glitter, as well as just a little bit above where I put the glue so that I don't get a straight line. I get kind of a splash of glitter. Now you can also take the glitter glue and you can mix it with water and you can put it in a spray bottle and use it the same way you do E6000. I have not tried that yet. I'm sure it will work great. I'm just kind of stingy with my glitter glue and I don't want to dilute it, but I will probably eventually try it. Maybe I'll do a tutorial to show you the different ways you could use it. So here I'm putting on my glitter, and you'll notice that because I've sprayed and spritzed that stuff, it's not going to be a straight line across now, which is perfect because that's what I didn't want to happen. I didn't want it to be a straight line. The glitter I'm using is called Athena. It is a custom mix by Peachy Olive. You will not find it anywhere else because it is a custom mix. Most of the glitters that I use will be Peachy Olive. I will let you know if they're not. So I'm going to spray it again with E6000. I'm showing you that I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to just put a little bit more glitter on there to get better coverage. Now, a little bit earlier when I sprayed the E6000 on my cup, I would not normally do that at my workstation. I would do it over a trash can or I would do it outside. It makes a huge mess and it's very sticky. The only reason why I did it at my workstation is because previously in my videos, I just tell you to use it, but I haven't really showed you how. So I just wanted to make sure I did that at least in this one. I use scissors to tap the top of the cup, and that makes all the excess glitter fall off. And I think that looks pretty good. So you only have to wait 2 hours for glitter glue to dry. As I looked at my cup, I noticed at the top where the sill's going to be that there was just a little bit of gapping from the paper. It didn't cover just quite as good as I wanted. So I did put some more glitter glue on the top there. Went ahead and used some Midas, also from Peachy Olive, to get that good coverage that I wanted before I moved on. All right, so now after I did another final E6000 spray, including over top of that paper, because I do want to make sure that that plaid paper is good and sealed since it is in fact paper. So I'm using parchment paper. I'm just rolling my cup back and forth. You'll notice that there's really not a whole lot of glitter that comes off on the parchment paper. I've used enough E6000. I've got it pretty sealed pretty well. And because I'm going to be doing a hand leopard glitter, I just wanted to make absolute certain that none of that gold was going to move around. So I did use Krylon Triple Thick to go ahead and seal it all really well, including the paper. And then I let that off gas. You need to let that off gas for 24 to 48 hours when you're using Crystal-Lac products. My rule of thumb, which I've heard David say before, is the sniff test. So I put it up to my nose. If I can no longer smell it, then I move forward. Usually that takes about 24 hours. So here I'm going to use my glitter glue. I'm going to use Batman and Cold Brew, both of which are peachy olive glitters. Here's a little tip for your black glitter. A lot of people are always looking for black glitter that's going to have that sparkle to it. Well, the only way you're going to get a sparkle is if you put some silver glitter in it. I use 357 Magnum or Jedi I put in my Batman. And any black glitter that you use, if you want it to have a good sparkle, you're going to want to put some silver in it. So I'm using an angled brush here, and I'm just painting on spots that are going to be the brown areas of the leopard. Now, I think this ended up turning out pretty good. However, I prefer just having the black part of the spot and doing it in vinyl. I just think it looks cleaner. I don't know. I worry that my leopard spots aren't going to look the best, or I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think once I get the cup finished. I will have pictures of it up on my business page. And let me know what you think once I get that posted. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks because I'm going to be working on building up the layers on that cup to get my glassy finish. But I definitely want to hear your opinions. So I'm just going around the cup on the top and the bottom and down that side, putting those spots on there. I've started working on a Milky Way tutorial since you're going to have to do it differently with Crystal-Lac than you would epoxy. My goal is to try to put some tutorials up to show you that you can get the same kind of results with Crystal-Lac that you can epoxy. So once I get that all finished and done, that one will be posted. And if you have any ideas of any kind of tutorials you would like to see me do, feel free to post in the comments and let me know. I'd be happy to do that for you. So I noticed after I tapped off my glitter, there was a couple of brown spots that just didn't have as much coverage as I wanted. So I just took my glitter glue and tapped a little bit on there and just re-glittered those couple of spots and tapped them off again. All right, so looks like those brown spots are good. After an hour of drying, I'm going to lightly brush off those spots. You'll notice on the parchment paper there's a little bit of the brown glitter coming off. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit, and you don't want that extra on there to move around on the cup later. So it's good to just lightly brush that off. And while you're doing that, just take a look at the areas and make sure that they're coated as good as you want them to. If any of them have thin coverage, then you can go ahead and fix that then by just putting on just a little bit of glitter glue with a paintbrush and then re-glittering that area. So I let that dry for another hour after I lightly brushed it off. I'm taking my glitter glue and some black acrylic paint. I don't normally use black or acrylic paint because I don't like it and it doesn't adhere well. But for what I'm doing with this, it's pretty cool. So you just put a tiny little bit in there with your glitter glue and you mix it up and it's black. So I'm going to use it to make the black parts of my leopard spots. This will help you get even better coverage. And you're just going to use that angled brush to just paint that black area around those brown spots. However you want to do it. You can do like a piece at the top and the bottom. You can do it in like a C formation around the brown spot. I mean, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. And there you can see I've painted that on there. Now I'm going to use my Batman and glitter those areas. And again, if you find some areas that don't have the coverage that you want, you can just go back with your paintbrush and a little bit of that glitter glue mixed with paint and dab a little bit on there and re-glitter. I'll also tell you that using the Crystalac BT when you start building your layers, if you're anything like me, you're really going to doubt yourself and you're going to be like, this is not what I thought it was going to look like. Give it some time, because when you're first putting that BT on and it's rough and sharp, and then you have to do your sanding every 3 to 5 layers, at the beginning it just, you kind of wonder, like, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. But just keep going, because it's going to be gorgeous and you're going to get that glassy finish and you're going to get that sparkle from your glitter and it's going to look great. So here you see me putting on BT. The first layer of BT on my glitter cups is pretty heavy. Now it's not dripping off the cup, but I am pretty generous with it because the glitter does soak it up a little bit on your first layer. So I'm just putting it on there, and you'll notice that as my finger goes down the cup, if I have excess on my finger, I'll kind of wipe it off on the bottom part of the cup. And then I kind of go around the bottom edge and make sure that I have plenty on the bottom. Again, you don't want it dripping, but be a little bit generous with your first layer. And I honestly will wait sometimes 6 to 8 hours, because I am so generous with my first layer before I move on to the next. And if I have a lot of glitter or chunky glitter like this, I'll wait till like 5 or 6 layers before I sand. And it is a very, very light sand, guys. You don't want to dig into your cup. It's not like using epoxy, how heavy you sand with that. I hope that this was helpful for you guys, and hopefully you like this tutorial and you'll like and subscribe. Comment below any ideas that you have for future tutorials, and let me know if you have any questions.